Thanks everyone for joining us again on Legacy Builders podcast. We've got some awesome guests on today. My aunt and my uncle and my dad's siblings. So I'm gonna have him introduce his siblings.
Yep, just we're gonna have some fun here today. With just thank you to my brother Brad and Lisa. So I'm the oldest in the family, and then Lisa is the youngest, or right behind me. Then, Brad's the youngest. She only 2 years behind me. So, yeah, I just want to say thank you guys for coming on and helping to just kind of frame and help us to talk about legacy. We tell this almost on every podcast. We never grow up, and we haven't met anybody yet that's really started to say, hey, we're going to start building legacy today. But through the course of our lives, we learn things from our family. We learn things from grandma, grandpa, and these are the things that some life lessons that we adopt and adapt to and carry on or not carry on to as we start building our family. And so, as we're building legacy, we just want to kind of have you guys help us and our viewers hear about our family. We're going to talk about grandmas and grandpas, our parents growing up, and some things we learned and some things we learned to not do. And not to say we grew up in a bad family, because we grew up in a great family. Mom, dad are great, but it just like it, even with me, and I tell people this all the time. There's things that Madison's learning from me on what not to do. So it's not a negative thing. We're just going to be real with you and kind of have some fun with it. So, Madison, why don't you?
Yeah, let's start with telling our viewers just a little bit about you guys, about your own families, and then just like what it was to kind of grow up. So, Aunt Lisa, if you want to start.
Yeah, sure. So I'm the middle child. And I have 3 children of my own and a grandchild. So my oldest is about to be 26. My daughter is 21 and my youngest is 19. So he bowls for college. Brianna, my daughter, has a granddaughter and she's 3.5. And then Jordan is just kind of doing his own thing. He went to college, played baseball, graduated with a bachelor's degree in business administration.
Yeah, awesome.
Good start.
Uncle Brad.
Hi, my name is Brad. I'm the youngest of the 3. Not by much, 2.5 years separate all 3 of us. I have 2 girls of my own, but I've been through a divorce and got remarried to Lori, and she had 2 of hers. So I have 2 stepkids and 2 of my own. My kids are, Maggie is 19. She goes to University of Lincoln. I have no idea what she's studying in because I don't even think I can pronounce it. Emma is a senior in high school, still at Millard South, loves playing soccer. Hopefully she's looking at getting some sort of scholarship. Stepdaughter Alexis, who is the oldest, at 20, is now working as a nanny for a couple kids or a family that has a couple kids and stuff like that. And Noah is out in Milford at SEC working to become an agricultural diesel mechanic.
Awesome.
So no grandkids or anything, hopefully none at any point in time. I think I'm ready to be a grandpa.
In about 20 years, we can have some grandkids.
And I did the math, but I'd be 41. That's not gonna happen.
And what do you do, Brad? What kind of work do you do?
I am a union electrician. I've been an electrician. Well, I did 2 years non-union, and then I went to the union. I've been in there for 22 years now, so a total 24 years as an electrician.
Lisa, what did you?
Yeah, I guess I didn't tell you what I do for my job. So I have been in the work comp insurance industry for probably 20 plus years, and I am a claims supervisor. So I have 5 people that report to me and handle work comp claims, and that's all day.
Awesome. Well, let's go into a little bit about like when you guys were younger and what that was like all growing up with each other.
Don't even know where to start with that one. So course, me being the youngest and everything like that, I don't know, it just seems like, I don't want to say I was the one that got picked on a lot, but I mean, Eric was the oldest, kind of knew everything, so he was in charge more than any of all three of us. And so it just, I don't know, there's only bits and pieces that I remember. I mean, I don't know. Lisa, I don't know if you
I
remember.
know he was a little ornery
Yeah, I'll
too.
kind of start off just so you guys are a little comfortable to like, I know, and you guys can tell some stories on me. That's what this is about. So the viewers can kind of see a little bit about me, but I knew how to push buttons. I still know how to push people's buttons. And I've kind of I've kind of pulled back a little bit, you know, as I've gotten older, but yeah, being the oldest, I was a little ornery. And my brothers and sisters will tell you.
Eric liked to antagonize me and Brad so that we would
Yeah.
get in arguments and fight and then sit back and watch it.
Oh my god.
To say the least.
Yeah.
Or if there has been certain times where certain things would happen around the house and no one would fess up. That's kind of like the brother-sister thing, but in the long run, we all know who antagonized it, who
One of
all
my
that kind of
favorite
stuff.
stories is he was watching us one night, the door jam.
Well, I thought it was the horse, but
Well, there was the horse
Yeah,
too.
yeah, tell both of them.
But my parents went somewhere. They went out and Eric was in charge of us. And the thing that my parents always told us is we weren't supposed to lock the doors to our bedrooms. That was a thing in general, like don't lock your doors to your bedrooms, leave it open in case something happens. Anyways, so me and Eric had gotten into an argument about something and he hit me, I hit him back. We got into a little fight. So I said, I'm going to my room. Don't lock your door. So I locked my door. And Eric comes and he's like, you better unlock your door. I'm going to break it down. And so my parents' room was across from my room. And he kind of went in their room and ran into my door.
Well,
like
now Lisa
two-
said, go ahead.
but yeah, obviously.
Well, I didn't think it was really going to do it because we would have got in trouble. Well, we still got in trouble.
Right.
So he ran into the door a couple of times and it broke the whole door jamb. It cracked the whole door jamb. So we tried to fix it and went and got some nails. That didn't help at all.
Well, I don't know if we tried to fix it. I think Eric knew he was in trouble, so Eric
Eric
had to try
tried
to fix it. And
yeah.
that might have been where my carpentry skills started.
I don't know, because they knew as soon as they walked out and saw that door, they knew exactly. They're like, what happened?
I don't know if they just saw the look on
I
our
just
face or
fell.
what.
Yeah, I think they knew something was up when they walked in the door and we're just all sitting on the chair. Like
Nothing happened.
nothing happened. They're like, hey, this has been we've been getting along all night. We're just kind of sitting there not saying nothing. And you know something's up when you come home and the kids are just sitting there
Oh
acting
yeah.
like everything's great.
So then they see the door and I don't even remember what he told.
What happened?
Tripped over the dog. And fell
Oh.
over
No, I
the
said
door,
I was just
something
going
like
to the
that.
bathroom and I tripped and fell into the door and it just
Yeah. He fell into the door. That's what it was. Wasn't I was trying to get into the room. I just fell.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And one night we had a pillow fight. That was I don't know if it was our favorite thing. It'd probably be Eric the instigator's favorite thing is to start a pillow fight. And, I went to hit Brad with a pillow and he ducked. I don't know why he ducked. But when he ducked,
It's gonna get hit by a pillow. Why would you duck? Come on.
But he ducked and my pillow hit the horse figurine right off of the end table.
The thing about the horse figurine is we were watching it for Grandma Anderson.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even mom's or ours or anything. So, but none of us would admit to it. So we all had to get money taken out of our savings account to help pay
It's
for that.
because we also tried to glue it together
We did.
before they got
Well,
home.
we glued it
We
together
did. It was
except for this
missing a little piece.
microscopic piece that we couldn't find. And I don't know how my mom saw that right when she walked in. So what happened to that horse? How did you know that?
Right?
Yeah,
Oh man.
those are some of my favorite stories.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So yeah,
Definitely
lots of fun stories of growing up. So one of the things that Madison and I talk about is, I ultimately got to a point. We grew up. We both went to high school. Had a lot of lot of fun experiences there too. And I had gotten out of high school, and I had decided to make a change. And we kind of talked about this on another episode about me walking away from the Catholic Church and started going to a Christian church. And so obviously I made a life change, but other people didn't see it as positively as I may have seen that. So maybe you guys could enlighten the viewers on Eric at this point in time.
Well, I mean, in my opinion and stuff like that, I mean, at first it was like, hey, great, he's making a change, whatever, you know, that's your decision, all that kind of stuff. And as the weeks go on and you come over, it just seems like you pushed it down our throat all the time. You got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, otherwise you're going to hell. And it's like, after a while, it's like, oh, Eric's coming over. Oh, he's going to be here. I think I got to go somewhere. So it's like, for a while there, it's like, yeah, if I heard that you were coming over, I tried to find something to do because I didn't want to hear about it. So I don't know how Lisa was with it or anything like that, but
Well, I was kind of the same way, but I think I more felt bad because nobody wanted to talk to him. And so he made the change. And, you know, at first you're like, okay, what, you know, whatever. And because we grew up Catholic, and I mean, you could go to church on Sunday and say, sorry, God, and then just go back and live your crazy life and then go to church again on Sunday. It wasn't like you were living in a kind of certain way. So when Eric made this change, and so like Brad was saying, he would come over, he had moved out, Eric had moved out. And so when he would come over to visit, you're watching TV, that is the devil's talking to you. And we're like, oh my gosh, you can't listen to that. You can't do that. That is the devil. And it was just like, he was just this crazy person. And we knew the intentions were good, but it was just so, we're like, everything we did was wrong and it was the devil. And so we didn't want to talk to him. But I remember there was one day that he just got so, like, it was just hurtful because like me, mom, dad, nobody wanted to talk to him. And so he was downstairs in the bathroom, and I went downstairs and I was talking to him. I'm like, you just can't, like, we don't know anything about this. And you're just telling us it's the devil and this is bad, but what is it all about, you know?
Yep. And I was talking to Eric a little bit about it too, you know, the other day and stuff like that. I go, one of my turning points with him, and for me and him type of thing to where I could be around him is, I mean, I don't know if you were there, Lisa, you were living there because you had Jordan, and mom and dad were there, and Jordan was up on the landing upstairs in the living room, and Jordan must have seen me down there. And so he was in his little walker, and he ended up coming to the stairs and fell down the stairs. And mom and dad, mom like immediately came to me and it's like, look what you did, and just started blaming. It's like, all I'm doing is down here. And dad came down, give me your keys, you're not going anywhere, blah blah blah. And I was like, I literally threw the keys out in the yard. And I mean, I went into my room and no one would come into my room. I mean, Eric was the only one that actually came into the room that night, and he can verify and stuff too. I think I had a bat in my hand and I was ready to just go psycho, you know, but he was the only one that could calm me down just because of certain things and stuff. And from then on out, it's like, that's kind of changed my attitude towards how I looked at him with a lot of stuff. So, I mean, that was the main thing for me there.
Well, I had ultimately, and I talked about this on another episode, that, I mean, I had ultimately realized that I was being crazy, and it was, everybody was right to avoid me because I was a crazy person. And I finally had my eyes open to that, and I had to make some changes in the way that I approached people and treated people. And it wasn't about cramming things down people's throat. And so, and I don't know if that, at that point, Brad, if that was like, you know, a turning point, I had realized that, and that was kind of, I had already made kind of that turning point, but
well, what it sounds like is that it was a process. Obviously, you guys got a little bit hurt in the process, or like of him going a little crazy. and it was a process to resolve
Yeah.
all of those relationships. And so were there other moments where you guys can remember, like,
I mean, I just remember, once we all started seeing Eric as like, okay, what is this really about? And he's changing the way he's doing things, and he wasn't the crazy person anymore. Then it was like, we all were like, okay, I want to go check this church out and see what this different way of living is about, and accepting God into our life. And, on a more personal level, and changing the way that we were doing things and the way that, our lives were going. And I think that kind of even helped. I think all of us have had a really good relationship with each other growing up. Even, I mean, we had our moments as siblings, but I mean, I think as adults, like, we have a pretty strong relationship, and I know that I can call either one of you guys, and you guys would, do whatever it took to help me or my kids out.
Yeah.
So just, some turning points, and even like me going through my divorce, and even Brad, going through yours. I know Eric had always been there for me and helping me get things taken care of, and just, whatever you need. And, Brad the same way.
Right. One other story that I had too, that I still remember to this day and everything, but it was a Christmas Eve at Grandma's house. And she has the whole mantle set up with the whole nativity scene. And here Eric comes in with a little figurine of a drummer boy and puts it right up there on top next to Jesus. And this represents all of us. And the whole family was just like, what the heck is going on?
I remember that too. Yeah.
Some things looking back you wish you could take back, but it makes for good stories later on in life.
That was a good story, but I mean, also I think the family started realizing after that and stuff too. It's like, yeah, he's going down somewhere else, but you know what? No matter what religion they are, we're all here for the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the whole situation. So.
And you just kept, pursuing who you were. And I guess that's something that I totally appreciated too, is it didn't matter what everybody else thought. You just kept going and pursuing, what you needed to pursue. And I guess that's kind of my thing too.
Exactly.
So growing up with the Madej family, so and Lisa, you kind of touched on this a little bit. One thing that I can appreciate, especially with the Madej family, is there always did seem to be this focus on family. I mean, we would always get together, and even with the aunts and the uncles, we could. I mean, you want to talk about some high level discussions like Madison. I mean, we could go over there, and there's always a argument going on, but at the end of the day, we walked away as family. And we still, and the three of us, I would say we even take it to another level. I mean, we're closer than most siblings are, our age.
Right.
Our family is a little unique in that. You guys comment on that?
So I always thought too, whenever we would go over to the Madej side, it was all about family. It was like Christmas Eve, everybody would be over at Grandma and Grandpa Madej's house and celebrating Christmas, even Mother's Day, any holiday, to be honest. And most everybody always showed up, unless there was some baseball game or something like that going on. It was all the uncles, aunts, cousins. We all showed up and celebrated together. I mean, it was always all about family. And even now, after Dad passing away, and granted we're down here, but when you go back to Nebraska, they're always like, oh, call us up and we'll have you over for dinner, or come see us. And it's not like we're excluded or anything like that, not that I would expect that, but it's just they're still close. And you could again call any one of the cousins and hey, we need help doing this, and most guarantee they're all going to be there for you.
Yeah, and I mean, extending on that and stuff like that, when you're talking about family here, it was all about getting together. You saw the uncles, you don't see them much, cousins, all that kind of stuff. So it's always nice to see, catch up, and all that kind of stuff. But even now, like you said, you guys live down in Tennessee. I'm still back up here with them. And there's been times I'd help Uncle Ray out, Uncle Ron or something like that with some stuff around the house, or they would come and help me. They'd help me paint at the house. And I mean, all of them have pretty much made the same comment. He goes, I know your brother and sister and your mom are down in Tennessee. He goes, but just remember, they're not your only family. We're family too. So I mean, it's something that always, hey, if you need anything, give me a call. We'll be there.
Right.
So I mean, it's one cool thing that kind of growing up and still to this day that the Madej family does. So they're there for you.
Yeah.
That's so cool. What are some of like the traditions that like instead of just getting together as holidays or whatever, the Madej family, like whether it be immediate or the whole Madej family, traditions that you guys looking back were like, hey, this was a cool tradition that we had?
To me, I don't know if it was so much as traditions type of thing. It was just, we all knew, like I said, all the family gatherings and stuff. That was something I like to try to keep up. But I mean, my situation and stuff with being divorced and stuff, it makes it harder because now you got another family added into the whole situation. But I always remember, no matter what day it was or what holiday it was, I mean, Moya Droga was always sung, and every cousin was like, oh my gosh, we have to sing this again, you know.
At any age.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's something grandma and grandpa
They love
coming back
that.
from their heritage and stuff like that. I mean, that's one thing that I always remember about everything.
Yeah, I think I would say the same thing. I mean, tradition wise, I guess I don't really know traditions. We had Christmas and stuff, and it was always the tradition to go to Grandma and Grandpa's Christmas Eve. And then we would go to midnight mass, and then we would come home and open presents. And I mean, it kind of changed as we didn't go to the Catholic Church anymore, and we would just go back to mom and dad's and open
Right.
presents and stuff that way. But I mean, that's the only kind of tradition.
As far as like opening presents and stuff, even at Christmas, I mean, I remember going back to mom and dad's. It's like, okay, this is your pile, this is your pile. It was a free for all and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I know over the years and stuff, it's like you like to see what you get your kids. You want to see what the reaction is. So I mean, one thing that I've kind of changed, and even mom started doing it a little bit, but hey, let's do it one at a time so we
Yeah.
can see the reactions on everybody's face.
Right.
I mean, that's one thing that I'm kind of glad we started doing differently, just because of that fact. But I mean, that's just one thing.
I know Jordan always appreciated opening the presents from you.
What, the 30 minutes or what?
Oh yeah.
And all of the
Those ones
20
we
boxes
couldn't watch the
and
whole time.
taped up and duct taped and
We would draw names that, you know, the uncles and us three would draw names for all the kids, and Jordan, Uncle Brad would always get Jordan, and it was duct tape, spray foam, whatever. That was a tradition, was seeing how difficult he could make opening up to get to the gift card or whatever.
I remember the one where it's like we asked him what he wanted and everything, and he's like, all I want is bread and water. Don't tell me that, because I'll take it literally. And I got a big box, and eventually we got him some like pants for baseball or something like that, but there was, you know, just leggings in a way, so I was able to roll it up into a plastic bottle, and then we wrapped every bottle, and I think there was like 80 bottles of
that's
water or
right.
something like that, and he had to unwrap them to figure out what his present
Yeah.
was. So
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that was when he had initially went to college, and so he's like, any little bit
Yeah.
right.
yeah.
Well, there's one other tradition that is always a favorite that we still do, is every once in a while we'll have some pull out the grasshoppers. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh, the grasshoppers. Yep.
Yep.
Gotta
Yeah.
have the grasshoppers.
Yeah.
So grasshoppers are like an ice cream drink with a little cream de mint in it and cream de cocoa. So it's got a little bit of alcohol content in it, but they would always, almost every Christmas for sure, they would have the grasshoppers, and it was always fun. And you know, the kids would always get a little.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
Grandma had
Little
those
shot.
little thimble size.
Yeah,
It didn't matter
little.
how old you were, you still got one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no matter what, I mean, even we went to I wasn't able to go, but the last Christmas I think I had to stay here, but you guys, even at the Madej cousin Christmas party, even they're
Yep.
rolling with the grasshoppers.
Yeah.
That's right.
It didn't amount to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what
I mean, I
about?
know
Oh,
Angela's
go
trying to, I was just saying, I know Angela and stuff, they're trying to keep the whole Madej, Christmas thing together because obviously grandma and grandpa are no longer here. So, I mean, that's
Yeah.
one of those things. So, I mean, it's good that they're trying to keep it alive, but a lot of people come and go because there's a lot more
Family.
people involved into it now. I mean,
Right.
every one of them has kids, every one of them, yeah, all different ages.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about like the Madej side and the Madej family. What about the Anderson side? Like, what do you guys remember, recall, just about that family traveling to Illinois and that stuff?
Yeah, so my mom grew up in Illinois, about 40 minutes west, kind of a little bit southwest of Chicago, in a town called Oswego. So I don't know if you guys remember so much, but grandma and grandpa lived in Oswego, Illinois. Then they actually moved here to Omaha for a while.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they moved back to Illinois and lived in a town called Sandwich, Illinois, and that's where
Earlville, too.
Earlville, that's right, Earlville, which my aunt lived in Sandwich.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so Earlville, Illinois, and I think that's where Grandpa passed when he was in Earlville
Mhm.
of emphysema. So I was a junior in high school when he had passed away. So I remember that. But so as a little, that time that they had here in Omaha, we got to kind of get together with them. And one of the things I remember is they always like to play cards, and we were always playing rummy. I'd play rummy with Grandpa and Grandma all the time, and
Yep.
we'd go over to their house. So it was a little difficult with them being away most of our life, except for the few
Yeah.
years that they were here. We would always at least try to go out there at least once a year. We would always travel. But
Yep.
what do you guys remember?
Me, I mean, I remember them living in Earlville. Because I always remembered, hey, if you wanted something to drink or candy, hey, the gas station is right down the street. We all walk
Yes.
down there to go get the, candy and stuff. Playing the cards with grandpa and grandma. They always loved playing that, the pinochle, all that kind of stuff. But I also remember with grandpa, he was always in a shop type of thing too, had all the keys and
Keys.
coins and all that kind of stuff that he collected. I still remember all of those. I have a bunch of his keys still to this day. So, I mean, that's a lot of what I remember during that time. I mean, obviously as we go older, coming here when they moved here to Omaha and stuff, I mean, that's when we got to know, I would say like Uncle Tim a little bit better because he was here a lot more and everything, but I don't know. To me, I don't remember a lot back from the days. So
I remember Grandpa made that. I can't remember what the game was called. Is it Aggravation or something?
Oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
He made that board on the plexiglass, and he was not going to let you win. He was.
Yeah.
No.
You still had to win yourself, but Grandma loved playing Yahtzee, and both of them. I remember making cookies with them all the time. They liked to make cookies, and Grandma loved Little House on the Prairie. And Grandpa, yeah, with all of his keys and his junkyard stuff and all that kind of stuff. But I think most what I remember about, and Grandpa had the snowmobile. He would take us snowmobiling in that cornfield off of Harrison.
Yeah.
Drive the tractor around.
Drive the tractor around, yeah. Yeah. But I remember most about Grandma Anderson is she never yelled. Like, she was always so soft spoken, and like she hardly ever got mad at anything you did. And it was always like, just don't do it again. Or, she was so soft spoken, and she had the biggest heart of anybody. And I don't remember a whole lot of like Grandpa. I mean, I don't think he ever really yelled at us either. If he wanted to say something, he always just spoke really softly and just like, don't do it again.
Well, there was one time I got yelled at pretty good. I got and
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember this, but we're raking leaves at the when they're in Omaha, we're raking leaves in the backyard. We made a big pile of leaves, and they had a deck, and we would go and jump off into the pile of leaves. And it was, I don't know, fun thing to do, I guess. But I thought it'd be fun to take their dog named Bumper and throw Bumper into the pile of leaves. Well, my grandma saw me out the window doing that, and she didn't think that was very funny. And that was the one time that I heard her yell pretty good at me when I threw Bumper off the deck
Oh my
into the
gosh.
pile, into the pile of leaves. He was a little poodle.
He was so old at that time too.
Oh,
Oh,
my
yeah.
gosh.
So she did yell at me for that one. I don't know. I might even
I don't
got a
remember
whooping over
that.
that one. I don't know.
I think I do remember that one, but I was also trying to remember too, if we got yelled at, remember the time where it's like, we just decided because their backyard at that time was just a big, huge field. So we decided to go on an adventure, and then it started like raining really hard, and they didn't know where we were, and
Oh, yeah.
We had
had to come find us. And I mean, I was in flip flops in a mud field and stuff like that. And I can't really remember if we got yelled at for that or what. I don't
Yeah.
remember, but
So is there any lessons that stick out that you learned from either of them, or what would be your takeaway from?
you know, and that's just the hard part, is because of how little we got to see them. And even when they were in Omaha, I still don't think I was even that old while they were in Omaha. I mean, I think I was still in grade school or somewhere, wasn't I? Or I can't even remember. So, I mean, a lot of my stuff is really young to where I don't remember a whole lot of lessons, I guess, except for, hey, always keep a mild temperament when you do things, you know. I mean, there's no need for yelling all the time.
Yeah, I don't know as though I would have a lesson per se, but just I would say, none of them were ever really judgmental kind of people. And they just took everybody and just loved them, right where they were at. And so it just kind of, that kind of sticks with me too, is they just loved everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Grandpa, now that I think about it too, Grandpa was into scouts, and he was really big into scouts. And so, just him growing up in the industrial age, I think he worked on the railroad and just was in scouts. He's more of the nature person. And I mean, I just appreciate his example of hard work. And like you guys said, just the way you treated him, and just spending the family time every time we go out there, and just playing the games with us. And
yeah.
Well, I definitely love to hear all the stories that you guys just have about like your grandparents and that stuff, but I'd love to get into just like your mom and dad now, and the lessons and takeaways that you got from them, whether it be good or bad. There's good or bad lessons in every family, and so we're here to learn from them. So whoever wants to go first.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Eric.
Start with the oldest.
yeah. Well, and again, there's so much, it's very difficult sometimes to think of one thing, but I mean, they're definitely instrumental in our whole upbringing. And just I know the family time, they always tried to, whatever we wanted to get involved in, they're very supportive of.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I know that every game that they go to, they're always going to the games. I remember playing Little League and taking us to the Little League games, and just making sure that we were active. And not knowing, my dad grew up and he started off in the union with the telephone company. Him and my uncle worked there, and then they shut it down, or I don't know if they sold it or shut it down or whatever, but then he decided to take on a sales position. And so sometimes he's traveling, and he would be gone sometimes, and gone a lot. And sometimes you really see, and I tell Madison this a lot too, like, you see me today, and she's seen me evolve even to where I was 10 years ago to where I am today. And so we get to witness our parents, and our kids witness us growing up. We're not going to be the same person today that we will be in 5 years. We're going to be different. We're going to learn some stuff and make some changes. And so I always appreciate watching them grow through life, and seeing the good and the bad. I don't want to just focus on the bad, because we didn't grow up in a bad a bad home. I mean, our parents loved us. They did the best they could with the financial situation they were in, and just like every parent would, they do the best for their kids and take care of the kids. And went to I made a choice to go to a Catholic school in high school, and my brothers and sisters went to a public school. They didn't want to follow me around, but but they just lessons, I guess, would be, they wanted the best for us, and they always did what was best for us, or at least what they thought was best for us, and putting us in the right environments, putting us into the places, supporting us, whatever we decided we wanted to do, they would support us. Dad was always big on, we had to keep our rooms cleaned, my gosh, and and just the structure, keeping some order and some structure. He grew up he was in the military, and he was in the Vietnam War, and so they learned certain things, keep your house in order, and I think he did pretty good at that. And he would always teach me that I'd have to return stuff better than the way I found it. And so I remember I'd borrow something and he'd make me clean it up to make it, so I'd return it better than the way I found it. So I don't know if
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, even to this day and stuff too, with the whole, if you get something and then return it how you found it type thing, or in better condition. I mean, that even still is with me and my trade and stuff like that. I mean, we get all these tools from our shop, we have to use them through the job, and when we return them, there's a lot of people, it's like they just bust them, they don't do this, and it's like me here, I'm cleaning them up and everything before I send them back, and just make sure it still sticks with me today for that. I mean, even my profession.
yeah.
I mean, even with Dad and stuff too, before he passed away and stuff, I could be over doing something for Grandma or Uncle Ray or Uncle Ron, and if he heard word of it and stuff like that, boom, he was there. I mean, it's like, hey, what you doing over here? What's going on? So he's always, the one thing I try to do with that is, because I try to do it with my kids, because I don't see them much either, because of where they're at, is try to make the effort to, hey, if you're somewhere close by, I'm going to try to get there, make sure I can see you, because who knows how much time you have. I mean, that's one thing I have to do with mine. So, and Dad did a lot of that. So, I mean, that's one thing as far as Dad goes, always even temperament, even, I mean, I try to do that with all the kids and stuff too. People want to get arguments and stuff like that. Hey, keep the even temperament, don't yell, don't try to get loud. Let's talk through it, and I still try to do that today too, as well. So, I mean, I see a lot of myself in Dad type of thing, or Dad and me type of thing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, that's one thing.
I think what I appreciate about both of them, and it's different with Mom and Dad, is just the relationship that you would have with each of them. It's different.
It is.
But like Dad, just showing me. It wasn't really until after my divorce that I feel like he felt like, I have to take care of you again. And it was like they both would always be there to help, and they would say, don't be afraid to ask for help, because I'm going 20 million different ways with 3 kids. But then as things kind of settled down or whatever, Dad loved to go to breakfast every Saturday morning, and I made the decision, because it's like, you never know when your last day is. So I made the decision that whenever they called to ask to go and do something, if I didn't have any plans, I didn't care if Dad called me at 7:00 in the morning and said, hey Lisa, we're gonna go to breakfast, you want to go? Yeah, I'm just waking up, but sure, I'm gonna be there. I'm like, I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna go. And so even if Mom wasn't able to make it, or if she was out of town for work or something like that, it wasn't often, but she would do stuff like that, and Dad would call and be like, hey, let's go to dinner. And I just appreciate so much, like, the time that he would spend with us and just the conversation. And it was just, every time I would need something or call him, you could always depend on him to be there. And even so much as for, like, because I was the only daughter, but even he would do it for Jody and Lori, like Mother's Day, and I mean,
Made sure everybody had flowers.
everybody had flowers. He would send me flowers at work for like my birthday, or he would give me flowers at Valentine's Day. I mean, he always made sure that, you know, he knew that we knew that he was thinking about us, or that he loved us, and just that father-daughter relationship that I appreciated so much.
Yeah, and I would even just to, to clarify, it's not to say that, we're not saying that our mom did not love us. That's not what we're
No,
saying.
it's a
And
different
yeah,
relationship.
it's a different, like, I mean, my mom would give us the shirt off her back if she had to, or the coat off her back, but and it's just very giving, always, wanting to make sure that we're set up. It's a different kind of love. And I mean, the relationship that we need from our dad is different than the relationship that we need from our mom.
Well, and I think too, sorry to interrupt, but just when somebody passes on, you reflect more on like what the lessons that they actually taught you, or the things that they actually did. And so I think there's just a difference in the fact that you guys have already had that reflection point and stuff. And I don't know if that's true for you. I don't want to put words into your guys' mouth.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing I was going to say too is for another one with Dad is just growing up, you guys would always be the ones to mow the lawn, but there were times where he's just like, I don't care if you're a girl, I'm going to show you how to change the oil, or where the oil is in your car. You're going to know how to mow the lawn. What if something ever happened and you didn't have somebody there for you? Like, I want you to know how to do these kind of things,
Right.
But then you have the relationship with Mom. And I mean, Mom likes to go shopping with me, and we go and, do the girl things and get pedicures and all that kind of stuff. And it's nice to have that relationship with somebody to go, places with as well, and teaching you how to cook and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and with the whole car situation and stuff too, I mean, Dad wanted to teach you how to change oil and stuff like that, but with Mom, she was the one that always taught us how to drive the stick shift.
Yes, she was.
Right.
So she
great.
did every
She was
time
great.
all of us started
All of
driving.
us, yeah.
She was the one that was teaching us, I mean, she wanted to make sure that we knew how to drive, not just an automatic, but a stick shift as well. So
patience of, oh my gosh. And she taught our neighbor Megan, and she taught 3 foreign exchange students how to drive. I mean, it didn't even faze her one bit at all. And I remember you got stuck on a hill.
Yeah, so driving a stick shift, if anybody knows how to do, I mean, if you're on the hill, man, you got to time that just right, or otherwise your car's going backwards. And I could not get that thing figured out. There's cars behind me.
He's like,
so I had to wave them on. I'm like, go around me. I can't do this right now. So I would wave them. One of the other things I appreciate is, they would work at the festival, or not the festival. Well, they did that too. Festival, but there was a parish dinner that Mom and Dad would be in charge of, and just to teach us that work ethic.
Yes.
I really believe a lot of my work ethic came from watching both of them.
Yeah. They
just serve people. They would get involved in the community. They would get involved. Mom and Dad were both involved in our scouting efforts that that we had.
PTSA stuff at school
stuff. They were just involved, and they just served the community. And anything that had to go on at church, they would get involved in, and they would just set that example, like it or not. They even made me sing in the choir. My mom did.
They even made us do square dancing. Remember that?
Square dancing. We had to try square dancing out. There was one Christmas. Brad, I don't know if Brad had to do this or not, but did you have to? There was one Christmas.
Ring the bells.
We had to do the bells. Ring the bells.
I think I did. Yeah.
You were part of that too.
I think
it was
so.
a big ordeal. And, but it was fun. I thought it was definitely a fun experience. But
some things I would hate.
You're talking about.
But then other ones, you're just like you looking back, you appreciate that you did do those kind of things,
Well, you're talking about keeping on top of school, and I was going to make the comment, even with Lisa, when she hides all of her schoolwork under her bed and forgets to do them.
I did.
Lisa, you're staying home.
I would call home every day wanting to come home sick. Mom would be like, did you throw up? Nope, get back to class.
How many months of paperwork was under your bed?
I don't know.
Oh,
A lot.
Yeah, you
But I had to
got
do
it.
every single one of them.
she pulled them out. She spent her whole vacation doing
Yeah.
homework.
I had to do like 5 pages a day for
Oh my
Like-
gosh.
a week or 2 weeks.
She'd bring her assignment home and just shove it under the bed. I ain't doing this.
Yeah.
But yes, they
"My
were-
room's so clean, it's all to the bed."
Right. Yeah.
And I know Dad was involved in a lot as far as like all the extracurricular things and stuff. And I know Mom was the more important of the schooling and stuff like that. She
Yeah.
was. I remember her being the one going to all the parent-teacher conferences and making sure our school was on top of things. So
Yeah.
just different types of people took care of different things. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just always saw Mom being
The caretaker.
the caretaker, the compassion, the giver,
Yeah.
the sacrifice, situations. And so I don't know if, I guess say lessons, more of examples, what are
Yeah.
the examples that we've seen that's kind of helped mold us into what we've picked up on or learned through example. Those would kind of be some of the ones that stick out in my mind.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, just making sure you're there for your kids. I mean, that's the main thing for something I've learned from them,
There were things that we did that I hated so much. Remember cleaning the office?
Oh
And
yeah.
in the office. Yeah, I remember all that.
There could be a lot
But I
of-
mean-
Oh
Yeah.
my
But it also goes back with the whole thing. They would do anything to make sure we had, if we were in sports,
Yeah,
the shoes and
exactly.
stuff like that. So I mean,
Right.
if we had to help do that, that helped pay
We
for,
didn't understand it at that time.
Right.
Right.
But looking back now, it makes sense because we would do the same thing for our own kids.
Right.
right.
So speaking of that, like taking all of these lessons from the Anderson family, Madej family, your guys' family, what things like have you guys thought about? Or maybe not thought about, but are looking back and reflecting on now that you want to really carry on in your own families? And what are some things that you don't? Maybe as well. And so, Dad, since you're the oldest, we'll have you go first as well. This question.
Well, I would say, and not to be a negative, I would just say one of the things that I have definitively made changes would be in the area of finances. And so we didn't really grow up learning about money a whole lot and talking about money. And that's one thing that I've made sure that I want to talk to my kids about. So to help them to realize, some things up front or ahead of time as much as possible. Not that I know everything, but I just want them to be prepared to start in the area of finances. So I talk to Madison about that. We get game plans and just different levels of communication in the area of money that I've made it intentional to talk to the kids about. Again, not saying I'm right or wrong in what I talk to them about. It's just, for me, it was something that I wish we had more conversation about, but didn't. And I had to go and learn on my own, start to rent in a house. I had no idea what rent meant and how to, go out and make payments and do all that. And I feel like I'm helping to get, Madison and Riley off on a good foot.
I think I would just say, taking everything, finances would be one of them. And we didn't have a whole lot of discussion growing up with that. And that's really not something that I've even talked to my kids about. We were talking about, Brianna and I were talking about that today, but it's like, I still learn this stuff and I look to you to help us, which is not bad, but yeah, that's something that I want to look, help my kids with so that they're set for the long term too. But in turn, just keeping the open relationship with my kids too, that knowing that they can count on me, that I'm going to be there for them, like our parents were.
Yeah. I mean, mine's not so much like with the whole financing. I mean, yeah, we never got taught. And I started off with the whole union aspect and everything like that. But my whole thing is I know Mom and Dad always did it to where, they want us to be more successful than them. So, I mean, that's something I'm trying to make sure with the kids and stuff. I don't care what you do, just do more than what we do because, I mean, I want you to be successful. Just don't settle for something over here or something, I mean, just try to do that. So, I mean, that's a big thing that I've been trying to do. And then the whole thing, just because, kids are starting to go off to college and everything, make the most of what you have when you actually see them.
Yeah.
If they're in town, make sure to go talk to them and just let them know anything you need. Just all you got to do is call, I mean, if I can, I'm going to be there.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
try to keep going with the kids so they do it with their kids and everything like that. So,
Yeah. Well, to kind of wrap up this discussion, we usually ask, what is the greatest lesson that you've either learned so far or the best advice that you would give to the next generation? And so to hear from all three of you just about either greatest lesson or best advice. I don't know who wants to start, but
I don't care. I mean, my best advice is, I mean, just with how short Dad's life was and, it didn't get much with grandma and grandpas and stuff, just make the most of what you have with the people that are around you. I mean, don't take for granted because you just don't know. So, I mean, learn all that kind of stuff from everybody that you can. Make sure you're there.
that's good.
I think for me, when you hear that everybody comes into your life for a reason, and you either have you can take it as a lesson or whatever. I think there's so many people that come into your life. Maybe they weren't always meant to stay in your life, and you learn lessons from them. And just even with your family around you, even Eric going from, making your life change and us watching you just continue to do things no matter what somebody was saying to you, you kept doing you. And just don't let somebody put you in a box that they think you should be in. Keep pursuing your life and what you are called to do.
That's good.
Yep, and I would just kind of similar to that is figure out why you're here. Figure out who you are. And once you figure out who you are, become the best you that you can be. And you're also going to, like Brad had said, becoming the best you weren't put on here as to be an island unto yourself. Is to be conscious of the people around you, know that people are put into your life for a reason, and make the most of that. Make the most of that time that you have with the people around you. Because this is not a dress rehearsal. This is one life and that's it. And we need to make the best of it and try to pass on and make the next generation better than ours. I think is the heart that we've seen as an example to us, and that we can be that example to the next generation.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for coming on today. Thank you for
having
sharing your stories. I hope they bring some joy and know that my dad's not perfect as well.
But he is.
But no, thank you guys for coming on. We really
thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
us.
So,
Thank you.
any last words from you?
Nope, just again, just echo what Madison said. Thanks for coming on our podcast, and we just hope that the viewers, again, just another example of build your legacy. This is part of our legacy with my brothers and sisters, and what we've just shared with you. Use this as an example to go out and build your legacy and be the best you that you can be.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today on the Legacy Builders podcast. Make sure to subscribe so you are notified when a new episode is posted. Now go out and take your first steps in building your family's legacy.